Welcome to the Wally Show Aftercast. All the stuff we did not get to during the course of the show today, including this little embarrassing nugget. If you've listened to the regular podcast, you would have heard the last break where we were talking about did Gavin say the last word in the Old Testament, or did he say in Revelation? And I contended that he said in Revelation, and he said, no, I don't think I did. I think I said the Old Testament. Turns out you did say Revelation, and so I was right.
You are lying straight from your teeth. I replayed it. No, I replayed it for him. Yeah, and you said Old Testament.
You did.
He hears what he wants to hear.
I infer things like anytime. This is how my brain works. Just ADHD. Am I right? If I'm in a conversation, I like to go forward through the conversation and try to get to the end of it prior to somebody else reaching the end.
You jumped the bridge too early.
Yeah, the minute you said the last word in the, and I went Bible, so I'm thinking Revelation, but you said in the Old Testament, and I didn't even hear that. If there was a stack of Bibles here, and they said, Wally, we're going to need you to place your hand on that stack of Bibles and swear that you heard him say Revelation, I would do that because that's in my brain. That's how convinced I was that you said Revelation. And then Betty played the audio back and you said Old Testament. Okay, so you were right.
Yeah. I was reading off of a document. So the likelihood that I didn't read what I literally wrote was low to me.
Yeah.
But again.
But here's what I love about you.
Due to me being me.
This is what I love about you.
I wasn't going to confidently.
This is what makes people like you and not like Betty, okay?
That's
because like you.
That's speaking with a lot of confidence that you shouldn't have.
You're doing exactly.
The confidence that Gavin lacks in everything, you make up for.
In everything.
In everything.
Yeah. Well, because that's the thing. Like, he's like, you know what, man, I could be wrong. I was reading it, but you know what? I'm probably wrong. Like, that's what I like about Gavin. Gavin's like, yeah, I could be wrong.
It's kind of
Betty will fight me.
Stand up.
Do not. No. You are doing great.
No, it's about other people. It's more about other people's happiness in certain situations where, like, I do not derive joy from being correct. So
remember how Zach loved being right, hated being wrong. A video came across my feed of old producer Zach of Betty Rock proving him wrong one time about something, and he just could not accept it. We had like confetti cannons and everything and music, and we're like, ah! We had so much fun. It killed him to hear that, and I'm kind of like that too. I hate being wrong. I found out that was a symptom of like ADHD. Was like ADHD people don't like being wrong or told that they're wrong because then they see it as like a personal failure or being questioned. They see it like, oh, you think I'm not smart. You think I'm dumb. You don't think I can do my job. They infer all these things that weren't said into that.
And for me, it's like I'm severely uncomfortable with being told like either that I'm wrong or that I did something wrong. Like I hate. That's just
but what if you know you're
me.
right?
But then but it's easier for me to fall on a sword, and you realize how silly you are than for me to try and fight back. Then you know what? I'm still here.
Yeah, I'll die on a hill.
Yeah, you will. And he made that hill out of 100%. A molehill. You speaking of ADHD reminded me that I saw something
of all
on
the notes she took.
That was all she heard.
No. I read something on Instagram the other day, and I thought it was so interesting because it's about ADHD and work, your work ethic.
Oh, okay.
It said people with ADHD, which is what I think Wally has.
Yeah, I've never been professionally diagnosed.
But he meets every criteria.
Aren't you trying to get in, though?
I tick a lot of boxes. Oh, I canceled that. Like, I tried to get it moved up, and then they moved it up like to a weird thing, and so I canceled the move up date, and I think it just canceled everything. So I guess the world will never know.
Okay, so it says people with ADHD can sometimes exhibit a work obsession or workaholism. What? Due to a phenomenon called hyperfocus.
Yes.
We have talked about that with you.
I have to watch that.
You look through a straw, where they become intensely focused on a single task, often leading them to work excessively to compensate for perceived shortcomings related to their ADHD symptoms, like difficulty concentrating or feeling like they're not performing well enough.
Yes.
This can manifest as overworking to prove their competence.
Yes.
Or simply because work provides a sense of mental stimulation and focus that other activities might not.
I think it's both. Like, work focuses me on something, and so I like that. I like the work that I do. But then it also is to prove a point that I am worthy and that my validation a lot of times comes through the work that I create.
But see, this is what I like about finding out about ADHD and the symptoms and stuff, because I think most times you think the way you operate is how everyone should be operating.
Correct.
And if they're not, well, then they're dumb.
Yeah, they're deficient.
They're stupid.
Right. Yeah. No, they're just deficient.
Okay, they're deficient. Okay. Yeah. But I would say that those who don't deal with ADHD, those who don't feel like they need something to prove themselves, or they're able to focus on multiple things, or they like to focus on things outside of work, doesn't make them deficient.
Mm-hmm.
Makes them lazy. No. There is a different, in seeing how work is done, like I was on a trip recently with other radio people that did not work the same way that I work. Mm-hmm. And so I do perceive that as lazy, because you're there to do a job. Mm-hmm. You should be doing the best job you can for this ministry, and so I do perceive that as lazy.
I think that is a relatively fair scope to look at things when it comes to a work setting.
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily, I don't think, judge people for, let's say, how they spend their weekend.
Don't care.
Like if Betty and I, like a good weekend might be a weekend where we don't do anything.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but I don't like. Great, if that's what you want to do, great.
But that you don't judge it because it doesn't impact you. But sometimes within a work setting, especially if things do impact you, then perceiving it as lazy, which their standard is just here, while yours is here. And I tend to also think you're right when it comes to that.
Right. I get frustrated because people paint a broad brush of radio people like that, and I don't ever want to be perceived like that. And especially, too, when I feel like there's a higher calling to what I'm doing when I'm working on something, like I want to do it well. And so if I perceive somebody else who is equal to me, in this job, and they're not doing what I feel should be done, then I do see that as deficient, or I do see it as lazy. Because everyone has the opportunity to do it. You're just choosing not to.
Sure.
You're choosing to take a nap versus writing or working.
Especially when the impact you can have, especially on a trip like yours, where you are really truly impacting the lives of people who aren't as blessed as we are in the United States. Like you have that opportunity to make that greater impact, and you're like, come, make this impact with me.
Yeah, and Betty's right though too, because it is I put it on myself. I can't.
No,
I put it on myself. What is the word?
Inflicted.
Self-inflicted. Yeah, it's self-inflicted. Because I know there's an expectation of me to work hard, and I created that expectation because of what I did from day one, and I live up to that and try to exceed that every time, and stuff. And I put more pressure on myself than necessarily is there, but it's still there, But at the end of the day, too, I do like it. I like the work. I like what I do, and so for me, it does fulfill me, and it is something that I think defines me, and so. That's where a lot of my self-esteem or whatever comes from, is from my work, and so that will probably always be a part of me. As long as I live.
Change that.
Now I will say this though, in thinking about this, because Betty Rock has done a really good job at managing me as of late, after she got her psychology degree, but also too, like getting me to understand that sometimes I am hyper focused on something that doesn't matter right now in this moment, because a lot of times I'll get focused on that and I don't want to do anything else till I've solved that, but it could make another problem happen because I'm not focused on what I should be focusing on, but I'm focused on this. So like I do appreciate that.
Or those times where you are already overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I can sense it. I can tell it. You are exhibiting all of the symptoms, but you're like, no, it has to be done now. It's like, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's all inside of you.
But all of that to say that if I have ADHD,
no, you definitely do.
Oh, I do. Okay, so you're saying you definitely think I do.
I am 98% sure.
98% sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Could we look up how to do a test?
I've taken them.
And he's come out like with running colors.
Reigning champ of this.
Like
You're
the king
best
of ADHD.
Okay, so then this is the genius of how my brain works. And for like if I was a lawyer. Yeah, so Betty Rock just said 98% chance I have ADHD. Something that I cannot change inside of myself. So
you can.
No, I cannot. That is how God wired me. The thing that I always say that she doesn't say that is real.
No,
so now she's saying that God made me in a way that I can't change.
Well, then I could use that excuse for multiple things. I could be like, I need to take a nap ASAP.
Yeah.
That's
because you're wired that way. You're
but
wired.
You need to know something right now on the phone.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right.
Sorry,
But
that's just the way God made
I know.
me. What are you going to do?
I know. I'll have to find someone else that is not made like you.
Okay, then I'm going to have to find someone else that's more like me than you.
But if we all, because we have the conversation all the time about do we really believe that God, makes all these things happen? Sure. Like, do you think that God wired you to be that way? Or do you think that that's just a result of the world that we live in?
Okay, that's a big question.
Is ADHD a result of the world we live in?
Or did God create you with ADHD?
Or did God create you with ADHD?
No, that's a tough thing. Like, I think that we were all, the Bible says we're fearfully and wonderfully made, but then inside of that, I mean, you have things that go haywire inside of being born. Now, does it mean that God created you that way? I don't know. Like,
I don't think you'd say
He
that.
created us to be perfect, yet we sin.
Yeah, like I don't think you would tell someone who's schizophrenic that's just the way God made you.
And I would never tell someone that that had a diagnosis
addiction?
of Downs. God just made them that way. I think that there are things that happen during pregnancy or happen in our lives that are just what it is. I look at the world like that too. Yeah. I look at there's a lot of things in this world that are just the price tag of living in this world, and what do you do with it?
Yeah,
I think. Well, they say the main reason that babies get ADHD is because of genetics.
Yeah, sure.
Which I think we've talked about your mom, and you're starting to realize maybe your mom has some.
Maybe some. Yeah.
But they said other potential contributing factors include premature birth. Were you premature?
Oh, were you?
Oh no, I was a fatty. I was a fat kid, man.
Low birth weight. So that's not you.
That's out.
Exposure to substances.
I did eat a lot of paint chips as a kid, so that could have been.
And potential brain development differences that may occur during early development. Did your mama fall when she was pregnant with you?
No, but she drank a lot. No.
I met your mom.
Yeah.
She's the purest human being.
She really is the purest human being on the planet.
But it's interesting because it's like, you quote unquote weren't, in the case of something like ADHD, you can find out that you had, maybe God didn't make it. It's part of your life, but it is something you inside of and moving forward can make choices in how it impacts you and how.
And his choice is not to do anything.
Right. That's my wife's choice.
Wait a minute,
What?
sir.
What?
When do you ever let your wife tell you what to do?
I listen to her all the time. She tells me what to do all the time.
Oh, but if it comes to something you have your heart set on, you don't care. You're going to do it anyway.
I haven't had to have a thought in 33 years.
Amen.
It's so great. I just do whatever she tells me.
Marriage is
You
great.
do not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What about the tire situation?
She was wrong on that one.
Okay.
No, it's this whole journey of my ADHD. I'm on a journey.
Your journey.
I hate when people talk like that. But this whole thing has been really interesting to me and kind of telling about my wife, actually. Because my wife, I'm like, my wife is like, I'm telling her, I'm like, yeah, Betty thinks I have ADHD. I've taken a couple of tests, and I think she might be right. And my wife is like, yeah, I could totally see it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I should talk to a doctor and stuff. She's like, you've done so well this far in your life. Like, literally, she is like dissuading me from going to the doctor and changing, like medicine wise. It's fascinating to me. Like, I thought she would be like, oh, that's cool. That's great. That explains a lot of things. Do you want to get balanced out on this thing? But I feel like she is really opposed to it, which then makes me go, is it because it's medicine and you are admitting that you can't help yourself? Like, what if I had depression? Would she be like, you don't need medicine. You're good.
And we have found out too that ADHD can deal with a lot of depression.
Oh,
as well.
really?
Yeah. Remember we talked about this.
I forgot ADHD. Am I right?
Gosh. And you were like, because you said that they said a symptom of ADHD is sometimes you wake up in the morning and you just are depressed.
Yeah.
You don't have a reason for it.
Yeah.
Just everything is
That's
negative.
not you, though.
Everything
Yeah,
is bad. Everything is sad.
100%.
And you've said that before. And you have to fight to find gratitude.
Absolutely.
And they said that's a sign of ADHD. So it does have depression symptoms.
Oh yeah, there's like some real dark things for me, real dark, And I have, but I know enough in all my years now, and I know it's like, okay, this will pass. I'm not a clinically depressed person. Like that is a whole different ball game. I would never even claim anything near that, because people that struggle with that, it's debilitating. It destroys their lives, and they have a real hard time. For me, it's random, it's overwhelming, but it's short-lived.
Yeah.
And I know how I see it coming too. There are days I see it come. I know it's going to hit me. And I'm like, okay, I got to be proactive in this, and to get out of it. But I can, whereas someone that's chemically can't.
Mm-hmm. But when I watch videos on TikTok of people who talk about like the before and after of taking medication, it's so interesting to me, the people that when they talk about after they've had the medication, they're like, is this how normal people actually function? My brain is not going right now. Like, I'm literally thinking of nothing. That's
what I'm curious about. But my wife thinks it's going to change who I am and what has made me successful. She just wants some money. She's like, if this makes you worse at your job. No, but like, I think she thinks it's going to change how I interact, how I live, what I think, how I behave, and I think that there's maybe a hesitancy for that, because she even threw the money card at me, where she was like, you have to go to the doctor like every month to update your prescription. You can't just get like a year's worth of stuff. And that's another copay that you hate paying. Like, not a copay, but office visit.
It's hard to believe.
I know, right? But it's because like my doctor visit's like $200 at a time.
Oh yeah, as a guy who's been taking his dog to the vet for every 2 weeks, like you get to a point where you're like, this is silly. And in your case, this feels like it's more of a case study as opposed to something that is truly, truly like hurting your life.
Yeah, I mean, I've always functioned, and I've been successful. Here's what I'm going to do, Rock. I'll make this promise to you. If
Google says after that, the care team will want to see you every 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, that's not what has been my experience with different people that have been on this, and it's like every month they have to evaluate you and then give you a new prescription. But I could be. But here's the promise I'll make you.
That sounds like a pharmaceutical.
If the Lord wants this to happen, that original doctor appointment that I set up will still be good, and I'll get a notification, and I will go. And I will go. I don't know if I did or not. I know I canceled one of them, but I don't know if it canceled the first one.
The things that you will die on a hill for, compared to the things that you're like, meh, counterfilled.
I know. Can't do anything about that.
Like, I don't get it.
I know.
We just found out today that Wally talks about, in a show, we were talking about how he was at a Dunkin' Donuts line and how he went back and forth, just didn't want to be that guy. He kept saying, I don't want to be that guy. The guy that's the Karen, that
goes
difficult.
in and complains about something.
Yeah. And so, but then I was like, wait a minute, outside of the drive-through line, you want to be that guy.
I do.
You want to be that Karen. Like, that's what I don't understand. But we found out when it comes to people that are strangers that don't know him, then he's like, I don't want to be a problem.
Right.
But if it's people that he knows, yeah, he wants to be a problem.
I have no problem being a problem.
He has a reputation to uphold.
Exactly. And I think I'm nailing it, right? Oh, goodness. All right, so I just recently got back from Compassion in Africa. Oh, my glory. Like, these are those things. It was a great trip. And, like, the work that they do is amazing. We got to see what they did. We got to be part of it. We got to serve kids meals. Like, it was a fantastic reset for me and in my faith, and it was amazing. It was some of the hardest travel I've done in a while, though. Getting there, I was happy for both of you that you were not on the trip part of this.
It sounds miserable.
Are we talking bad flying?
Yeah, long flights and just a lot of travel.
You just get to the point where you're like, I got to get out of here.
Like when you look at your app and it says you're going to be traveling for 39 hours to get home because it's like the time you get to the airport, the time you get there, the flights. Yeah, it was insane. My first flight was 12 hours. And that was to Qatar. I flew to Qatar, which there's an F1 race there, which I'm like, ooh, I should go see that. But
you said, would you fly 12 hours for?
I might, because it's cheaper. Race? It's cheaper in other countries than it is
probably
here.
Probably would be fun.
It's like going to a Taylor Swift show. It's cheaper. But I got that one. I paid for upgraded seats to have the bulkhead, not first class, nothing crazy, but I had the bulkhead so we could stretch our legs out.
Yeah,
it was glorious.
That's helpful.
I will do that every time from now on. I don't care, except. It was like a 3-3-3 setup on the flight. Mm-hmm. So this guy on the right-hand side is also in a bulkhead, and his wife and kid and another child or person or somebody are over on the left-hand side, and we're all three in the middle. So he walks across us every time to spend time with his family and walks back across. It's like, go around, dude. Like, have some respect. And then steps on me, and stuff. I'm like, oh, dude. And so I'm trying to be nice and not complain, but like every probably half hour he's going back and forth.
I can't.
And so it kind of made those seats not as much fun. And again, I'm complaining about first world problems. When you see the poverty I saw, you're like, oh, really?
Let me tell you, kid, the bulkhead is not what they make it seem.
Yeah, I go to all the compassion kids. Oh, boy, one meal today, huh? Let me tell you about the meal I didn't eat on my flight. It was horrible. And I didn't have a single meal on my flights. They were all so bad. And so I had snacks. So I did some snacks. I had some Oreo Thins. That was nice.
Did you ever
some
eat
Cheez-Its.
a meal while you were
Not on a flight, no.
I mean, like while you were there in Africa?
Oh, yeah. Like I had meals at the hotel that were pretty good. It's the same old African beef and rice. They call it goulash.
Yeah.
But I like it, so it's fine. My wife struggled more. My wife lost like 2 pounds on the trip. And so she was so afraid of eating and getting sick because that happened to her last year and she got really sick, or 2 years ago. I actually did get sick on this trip a little bit. Stomach sick. So, I ate something in one of the projects, I think, that didn't sit well with me, but I instantly started taking this medicine. I took 3 doses the doctor gave me, and so I was sick for about a day and a half. Like the lady at the Compassion Project that we were with, Miss Mary, so great. Because I was like, first time I met her, I go, hey, you don't believe this right now? You are going to be best friends with me. We are going to be best friends, and you're going to like me better than all these other people. So I started off on like a real high note, and she could tell like that day, she's like, are you not good? You are not your usual self. I'm like, I'm not good today, Mare, but I'll be fine. And so I got through that. But like, getting there was like a 12-hour flight, then a 2 or 3 hours in an airport, in Qatar, then a 5-hour flight to Dar es Salaam, which I didn't know. I thought we were going straight from there to Kilimanjaro. Oh, no, we were not. Then we went to Dar es Salaam, then sat there on the plane and on the runway forever, and then flew from Dar es Salaam to then to Kilimanjaro, and then like an hour and a half drive to get to the thing. Like, it was just a lot of traveling, and coming home was worse. I thought I had like an 8-hour flight, then a break, and then an 8-hour flight. Like, okay, it breaks it up. It's nice to have that layover. One flight was 15 and a half hours. And I did sleep, which I was happy about, for about 4.5 hours. I didn't sleep well, but I slept. I was in and out, but I slept. But when you wake up and you look at the thing and you're like, oh, all right, I don't feel too bad. I got about 4 or 5 hours in there, and you still have 10 hours to go.
That's tough.
And the movies on the plane were horrible. Like, it was
That's why
long.
I say, and I will say it over and over again, I would rather, if I'm facing a 15-hour flight, they would say, for $150 extra or whatever, we will shoot you with a tranquilizer gun, and it'll knock you out guaranteed for at least 10, 12 hours.
100%.
I'd say sign me up, and then sign me up again in case the first one doesn't take.
Absolutely.
Because I would love to go on a flight already feeling kind of dozy and off a little bit, and sit down, and then I'm out like a light. You know, like how they put anesthesia? They tell you to like count down from 100. That'd be great. Put my body in that seat.
Yeah,
and you make it to like on the 8. Flight. You carry me in, carry me off.
Do you remember the lady that was talking about her? The lady that called the show, and her husband gave her his aunt's dog tranquilizers.
Sign me up.
I know.
Give me those tranquilizers.
That guy was ahead of his time. Like, I would have loved that. I took 2, and I never take this stuff. I took 2 melatonin.
Ambien? Oh.
No, not Ambien. I took 2 melatonin, and that actually worked pretty well. I took 1 prescribed medicine for pain that didn't make me as sleepy as I would have liked to have. I knew I needed to take 2 to go to sleep, but then the addict in me was like, probably not the best thing to do, so I didn't take it.
What is that even from? What did you...
It's a holdover from an injury. It's for my kidneys and my kidney stones.
Well, when those are bad.
Yeah, and so...
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, does my kidney hurt? I don't know. It does. I think it does. It aches a little. Yeah, so I did not do that.
Oh, that's wild.
But yeah, so it was all worth it though. Like, to get there and to like go to these compassion projects and see what they do, and I've seen them a bunch of times. but just they were so great in Tanzania. It was just a really great experience. And we talked about this on the show today. Like, there's something about being there for me that re-energizes me. It reconnects me to my faith, and like the things that I'm super jaded about here, I'm not jaded about there. Mm-hmm. I'm so much more patient. I'm way kinder.
You had talked about one time, you said I think you were going through one of thousands of times where you thought you were going to get fired from the station.
Oh, yeah.
And you were playing with the idea of what you would do next.
Yeah.
And you had talked about compassion. Do you still think that's something you would look into?
Yeah. Although on the flight home, when I was staring at a 15-hour flight and I had been through 4 security checks in one airport, 4 security checks in one airport, and then they cram you into this one room where you're supposed to be there for like an hour and a half and there's no AC. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Because I honestly think you would be awesome at that. Like what Matt does.
Yeah.
I think you'd be, like, Matt's great, but I think you'd be even better because you love that atmosphere.
I do.
You are a helper. You're just a very unhealthy helper.
Right, absolutely.
And I think you would I think you'd be really good at it.
I think when this runs its course, I would like to do like freelance work for them where I could go and gather stories or lead teams of other people. Because when we go, it is a lot of work. Like Jake from our digital department went with us, and he worked seamlessly with me this time. Like, we had our system down, and he never ever complains about anything. It's like I'm hitting him up for something late. Hey, last minute, I really need this shot. Can you find it?
He's talking about me. So I was like, no, sorry.
No, but Jake really crushed it for me and with me. And I
He's
like
scared
I
to
like
tell
tag.
you no.
Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But no, he loves the work. Like he takes pride in the work being good. And we did a lot of what I think was really good work. We were cranking out stuff from the field that looked like people had put hours into it at home where they're comfortable, and we were outworking everybody on the trip, which I love.
He at one point a few weeks ago even mentioned that, whenever Way FM again runs its course for him, he had talked about like doing missionary stuff.
Oh, really?
At one point. So like that is something that he is passionate about.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that. Yeah, I like the kid, and we had a really good working trip, and I felt really accomplished at the end of it, of what we created, telling the stories, but also too having them be fun and lighthearted versus just camping out on the difficulty. I think was good.
Well, I was going to ask this because I do think you'd be great at doing that post. How many trips does Matt go on?
It's supposed to be like 4 a year.
Okay.
But his has been a little bit more than that recently, I think. And it just depends. Like sometimes you're in South America or Central America, other times you're in Africa. The Africa trips are the longest and the hardest. Yeah.
Would 4 a year be daunting to you, or do you think that if that was what you did, then it wouldn't be it would just be work.
It'd be just
also
part of it.
A joy that you love.
It's hard for me too. Like when my wife, blessing, got to go with us, and I love that she gets to go. And she did what Betty's job was. She took notes for me and kind of helped me with all the other stuff. And she did a great job. But like for me, just like when Betty's on a trip, I worry about both of them. I worry about them getting sick. I worry about them getting hurt or whatever. And so for me, if I was doing something full time, there's part of me that would like to travel super light and unencumbered, and nobody asked me to worry about them. I just do, and where I could just literally focus on, I got this job to do. I know I'm going to be fine. Or even if I don't feel great, I'll get through it.
Well, what's ironic about all that is you say you worry about, me or your wife.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that we're doing the same for you.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, did he drink water?
That's
Probs
true.
Not.
That's true,
did
yeah.
He eat? Probs not.
Yeah, as much as Betty pretends not to care about me, she actually does.
I am in it for the money.
I
you
know.
wonder if Marty is?
Yeah.
I don't know. She might love you, but I'm in it for the money, for
100%.
the paycheck.
I agree, and I understand that. That's why I appreciate your honesty, Rock.
Because you're over
That's
there.
why we work.
You're over there in the summers usually. Like
Oh,
whatever.
Yeah,
those
and he
years.
never drinks.
Yeah.
And he gets that ADHD going, and he's like, I gotta build this house now by myself.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
literally had a snow day. We had the office closed for like a snow day while we were over there.
Yeah.
So the
contrast.
Yeah, the contrast of you probably sweating it out doing the Lord's work, and we're over here building snowman.
Last night when I got home Saturday and I was so jet lagged, and like I woke up, Marty and I caught up on a bunch of our TV shows at 3:30 in the morning. Like, it was crazy. We were both up like, on TV. Yep. So we got caught up there, but then I woke last night, because you're getting up so early and you kind of run out of steam early. And so it was about 8:30, I think, last night. I was working on a post that I wanted to have up today. I couldn't think. I couldn't focus. But the ADD, I kept trying to push.
Yeah.
And I finally walked away from it, and I went, well, I know I'm going to be up at 1. When I wake up, I'll get up and finish it this morning. And I came in here and finished it this morning and got it up. Can you look at wavefm.com? I want to make sure I hit the right buttons. Did it go up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
it was up.
good.
We tested. We saw it earlier.
Good.
When we did a break on it.
I would have been so mad right now if I had done all that and it didn't go up. I would have lost my
and
mind.
I'd be like, meh.
How long does the lag of a trip like that take for you to get back to what feels like normal?
Like 4 days, usually about 4 days, and I'm back to pretty good.
And my experience was completely opposite. Like, I came home and I slept for 14 hours.
Oh yeah, you
straight.
did, yeah.
And I got up and I was like, oh, I'm good.
I'm
Just
good.
hit a really hard reset.
Yeah.
Well, I hit a hard reset, and I never dealt with jet lag at all.
I
the
couldn't
best
sleep that
sleeper.
long.
You're the best.
I wish I could have slept that long. I would have killed to have slept that long.
It was great. I didn't need any help or nothing. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm out.
The plane.
That's what I want on the plane, but I can't.
I know. The funny thing is too is like you can contort yourself in a plane seat like no one I've ever seen.
Yeah, when you're smaller.
Yeah, Betty gets her legs up underneath her on a plane seat or
She
like
sits
vertically.
normally.
But still, I'm miserable. I'm just like, I hate seeing the same people. Like, I need a different view.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you, like when there was a moment where staring down the flights, I'm like, all right, what's it going to cost to upgrade to like business class?
Yeah.
I'll pay it.
And
I
that's
don't
the thing
even
too.
care.
I worry about if I ever, like, let's say we do another trip like this and I do need to go.
Yeah.
I would love to do first class.
Oh, it's
love
amazing.
It. But I know. This is why I stay away from hair extensions, because I know I will love it so much sitting in first class that I'll never be able to go back to coach ever again.
Well, I'll tell you this.
I can't.
You will, because here's what happens. I've flown first class once, one way to Copenhagen, and it cost me $1,600 extra for Marty and I. It was like we bid for it. On some airlines, you can bid, and if they have open seats, you get it. Mm-hmm. So we bid $800 each. Okay, so $1,600. The best $1,600 I've ever spent in my life. Okay, so that was on top of my regular flight.
I could do any trip if I had that.
100%. Like, I was bummed that the flight was only 7.5 hours. I wanted it to be 12 because they treat you so well. You're laying down. It's glorious.
Right.
You get there, you're refreshed. And so my wife and I were like, oh yeah, we'll go ahead. Next time we travel a long trip, we'll spend the money for it. No, we would not, because then we started pricing it. If you're bidding, it's worth it. But when you just go to pay for it, the next trip we were looking at, it was $4,500 each. $9,000 for each of us to fly this round trip. And we both were like, that's not happening. Yeah. And so
what do you actually receive in first class? Is it like leg room?
Yes.
Yeah, you get to lay down.
You can lay down completely.
Is it better food? Like
yes.
What?
Yeah, all of it.
They laid out so many knives. It's so funny. You can't have knives on a flight. Like, they took a bottle from me because they said I could use it as a weapon. It was a glass bottle, and they made me give it back. I was really bummed.
I'd be honored.
They
just assumed
that I have those skills.
Yeah,
like somehow I'm going to have ninja skills. I know. And then, so they gave me out so many silverware. I had about 3 knives, 14 forks, glass.
And you
food,
had steak,
China
right?
steak. It was great. They put on chef's jackets to serve you on Delta One. It was or on SAS. It was amazing. Then I lay down. I'm completely laid down in this bed. They gave me a duvet, a miniature duvet.
Oh.
That's adorable.
I was warm. I was tuckered out. You tell them, don't wake me, or if you want to be woken. I was on this last flight, and we had just taken off, like maybe an hour into it, and they decided to serve. And for all of us, it's 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. They decided to serve some weird fish breakfast or dinner thing at 1 or 2 in the morning, and they woke us all up. We're like, I was literally asleep, and I'm like, I don't want it, no, thank you. But in first class, they treat you like royalty.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it is glorious.
Because you're just juxtaposing that with the possibility of middle seat.
Yeah.
Between 2 heftier individuals. meals for that amount. Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe your TV works. Maybe,
maybe
it doesn't. Maybe your headphone jack works.
Yeah.
Maybe it
Probably
doesn't.
don't have a
and then you've
charging
got some
extension.
idiot that's going to have to go to the bathroom 24/7.
That's me.
And,
On my
over it.
15-hour flight, I got up 2 times that entire 15 hours. I went
Kidney problems, you say.
Yeah, I just went and tinkled twice. That was it. In 15 hours in that seat. Imagine sitting in a seat uncomfortably for 15 hours, walking for 5 minutes total.
That's
10
crazy.
minutes total.
How many times do you think Gavin would have to go to the bathroom?
I'm never sitting like with him on the inside.
I can't be
No,
on the interior.
never.
But that, like, on a normal
Never.
flight here in America, max 4 hours or so.
Yeah.
Like, my goal is always just dehydrate. Like, there's no. I don't want to be a guy getting up in a plane.
That's
just
what Marty does.
It's awful, but you can't like
Dehydrate,
15 hours. Like, you're gonna need to drink something.
That's where when we go to like on compassion trips, she always is on that brink of dehydration because she so badly doesn't want to have to go to the
She's the one
restroom.
that told me that, and I live by it.
Yeah.
Because all my compassion trips, I'm like, I am on the brink of, I can teeter-totter between I'm about to faint because I don't have anything in me to I've got enough, and I feel that inkling of I might need to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to sit right in the middle because I'm not doing either one of those. Either one.
We were driving through this like
So bad.
savannah, and she had to go to the bathroom, and so they stopped, and so I'm literally holding like a Maasai blanket out.
No.
Yes, and she's in
On
the
this
middle.
past trip?
Yes, and she's like literally there, and she starts laughing so hard.
I could not.
She couldn't go. Like, she literally tried twice,
There's
could
no
not
way.
go.
Oh, man.
There's no
And
way.
one of the other girls on the trip had to go too, and so she was able to go. But Marty was laughing so hard.
I get that.
She couldn't go.
We were on a deep sea fishing boat a long time ago, and I had a bottle of Gatorade.
Yeah.
And I had to go.
Oh, yeah,
They were,
over the
like, just
side.
over the side. But I'm standing there, and the boat's moving. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't.
I know. I had to go, and I've got that same Maasai blanket that they gave me, and I all of a sudden out of
Aren't there
nowhere,
trees?
it's like a plane. And so like all of a sudden out of nowhere, a dust devil kicks up, and this Maasai blanket is wrapping me like a tornado as I'm trying to pee, and I'm trying to spin out of the wind
Ew.
and grab the
Gross.
thing.
Ew.
It was a sprinkler.
I hope
It's just,
you got rid of that blanket.
It just seems like a dangerous, the planes don't feel pee friendly.
Yeah, no. So anyway, all right. I guess that's going to be our Aftercast for today. We've done 38 minutes. That's
good.
going to have to do it. And we've covered a lot of ground. So as always, thanks for being a potty.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.